Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, a special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, the limitations and conditions that come with a U.S. work and student visa. And in the second watch, why the caution when diagnosing ADHD. For our social media question, we ask, did you know there were limitations and conditions that come with the U.S. work and student visa? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program. But before all of that, here's iQuote.
All right, good morning. Today's I quote says, "Life is the art of drawing without the eraser." And this one is from John W. Gardner.
Okay, good morning, Joka.
Good morning, good morning.
You can draw?
Not really, no. Not my ministry. Not at all.
All right, we learned something this morning.
Right. Yeah.
All right, first watch will be back after this break.
This Thursday, April 10, tune in to Have and to Hold as Dr. Colleen Beckles and the co-host, Pastor Napoleon Black, discuss this thought-provoking topic: reasons to take time away from your spouse. They'll discuss the surprising benefits and potential pitfalls of taking a break from your partner. Is space in a marriage a sign of trouble, or can it actually help a relationship thrive? Dr. Colleen Beckles and Pastor Napoleon Black will tackle these tough questions and more, offering wisdom, compassion, and expert advice. Don't miss this candid conversation on To Have and to Hold this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, if you apply for a student visa to come to the United States and you say you're coming not just to study, but to participate in movements that vandalize universities, harass students, take over buildings, and cause chaos, we're not giving you that visa. Also, if you lie, get the visa, and then engage in that kind of behavior once you are there, we're going to revoke it. And that's a recent quote from the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. It serves as a timely and a terrifying reminder that there are indeed limitations and conditions which come with the issuance of U.S. student and work visas. Well, to further discuss this, we have online Toussaint McDonald, family, criminal, and immigration attorney at law from Sage Law in the U.S. of A. Good morning, Miss McDonald.
Good morning, Dr. Toussaint.
Great, good to have you with us.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, anecdotally, Toussaint McDonald, how much are U.S. work and student visas requested by Jamaicans on an annual basis? Any idea?
I,
Anecdotally?
I have no idea, but we know it's a fair amount. From I was in high school, I would say a lot of my friends, actually a majority of the students that graduated actually came to the US to study. So we
Mm-hmm.
know we have a lot of people, especially on the cruise ships. We have people in the hotels. We have professional working class people. So we have all kinds of people that are working here in America on work visas and on student visas. A lot of our students come here on track scholarships as well.
Oh
So
yes,
we do
yes.
have a lot of students and workers here in the US.
So the track scholarships come under what umbrella? You know, you have the work and the study.
Yeah,
What do
well,
they
I
come
would
on?
say generally, even though they're track scholarships, they still come to universities. You have three different kinds of like school scholarships. The main one is the F1, where people come here to study at different universities. You have a M1, which is more like vocational students. And then you have the J1, which a lot of teachers come on as well, but people use that as an exchange program. But the track scholars are usually going to university as well on that J1.
And my curiosity, of the three, which one is the most requested, would
The
you say?
F1 visa.
And that's for what again?
Just regular academic study at a university. So if you come in here for a 4-year engineering degree, you would apply for a F1 visa. And I would say for the most part, Jamaicans and most people across the world never usually have a problem getting student visas. Once
Hmm.
they can show, they got an acceptance letter, they can
Yes.
fund their way through university. So whether or not their parents or themselves or a sponsor show, hey, we have enough money to cover the tuition, so people always were able to get their visas.
Right.
Now,
And
to
you
Marco Rubio's quote, you'll get there. Let me not pre up the question.
well, that's going to know sort of segue into that because the quote that he that we shared a while ago is loaded with with a lot of suggestive information. What was the backdrop and background behind that? Do you remember?
Well, I think a part of it is, the whole Palestine and Israel protests. That's one aspect of it. I guess also since January 20th, maybe you have protests against what's going on with the Trump administration. That
Hmm.
may also be a part of it. A lot of colleges in America, especially like the Harvards and the UCLAs and the Stanfords, they're probably very liberal colleges. And I think a lot of those are being targeted as well. And you'll find that those are the students that are having their visas revoked. And you'll also find, when you have highly intelligent people, especially people who are from backgrounds where their families have money, they're very outspoken. And I think that is a part of it as well.
Mm. And am I correct? A Turkish student, a student from yeah, Turkish student, a doctoral student. She was actually taken away from the campus and her visa revoked.
And
That,
it's
that
not
that was
just her.
highlighted in the news. Hmm?
Yeah, I've seen Colombia, a lot of students, and I did see that one as well. I saw that one as well on Facebook when they were grabbing her. Yeah, there is a lot going on.
What has happened to her, for example? Any updates you can give us on her situation?
I can look and let you know, but I wasn't really following.
You're in
So
following it. Okay, okay. Yeah. Now, walk us through the process, if you can, Sashane McDonald, of applying for these respective visas.
the first thing I wanted to say, right, which goes to Marco Rubio's statement, everybody forgets one thing: immigration is discretionary. Like it's one of the hardest areas of law in terms of getting results, time frames. I could tell you about me personally, but immigration is discretionary. And I know, a lot of people, as they say, they come here, they champion our cause, but even with the Turkish lady, I mean, due process is always an issue, but immigration, it's discretionary. So they have the discretion to grant you a visa, and they have the discretion to deny you the visa.
Hmm.
So when you're doing like a F1, when you apply to universities, and a lot of our very qualified, very smart Jamaican students do come here for school. Usually, you apply to a school, you have a special person that is a designated school official. So they usually, you liaise with that person at the school. We know how to apply. Some schools have an application fee. You fill out the forms, you apply to a certain program. Let's say engineering. Don't ask me why I keep picking that. So you apply. Then you have an online portal that the US use called Sevis. And that's how they track the students that are here. You're smiling. You look like you're familiar with that, Dr. Toussaint.
Yes, in the
So
past,
it's
yes.
a student and exchange visitor information system. So that's where you upload the documents. That's where the US are able to track you to see who is here on a student visa. After you apply and you show them, you fill out is a form I-20. You fill out the information. You show them your bank account. You say, I didn't do any of this. I went to school in Jamaica. You fill out show them you have enough money to support you for the program, so you're not here as a public charge. You get your acceptance from the school. You go to the embassy in Jamaica and they stamp the passport, or they put the visa, in your passport. And 30 days or so before your program starts, you would come into, go to the airport, you show them your visa, you come into the country. Again, everything is discretionary. So you come in and they could take you back out.
Well, at the airport, literally at the airport, you could be sent back.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. This whole thing, if you lie, you commit any fraud. Most people don't have that problem, though, because it's just young people, 18 years old, coming to college. And, let's be real. You don't hear a lot of Jamaicans coming up here, radicalizing, protesting. You mentioned the Turkish people or people from other countries, but I think for the most part, Jamaicans are pretty quiet. I mean, we're very vocal in Jamaica, the whole thing going on with Cuba, but I don't know, maybe we're a part of larger protests, but I've never heard of anybody. You're laughing, Dr. Toussaint. But
Yeah. I've heard it too, either.
Jamaican.
We're quiet down and reach over there, eh? Calm down.
We're quiet when we're over here. It's the truth. I don't really think, Jamaicans are generally very loud and we're excitable and we have a lot to say.
Yeah.
I think our young people here are just here to go to school, get their degree and move on with their lives. I don't really, and even if they're champion, because I know I do have a lot of friends that speak up on Facebook or, they advocate, but I don't see anybody grabbing us. I don't know. Maybe we're not that interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank God that that's not the experience so far. We sort of learn how to condone and we learn how to hold our corner when we reach America.
No, we are getting valedictorian and salutatorian and all of those. We're getting A's and B's, and this is, I don't know. I just think Jamaicans are just here to try to get what they need to get
and move on. Yeah. And speaking about moving on, we're nearing a break, and after the break, I'm going to ask you to sort of walk us through the process, the difference with the student visa and the work visa when you are making applications. We'll be right back.
Okay.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public at 12 noon on Holy Thursday, April 17 through to Easter Monday, April 21, 2025, and will reopen on Tuesday, April 22 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for the period Thursday, April 17 through to Tuesday, April 22 should be submitted by 9 a.m. on Wednesday, April 16, 2025. Obituaries and notices should be submitted by 10 a.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a holy and peaceful Easter weekend.
More on the go. Discover a new and convenient way to send money abroad with GK1 app. Download GK1 from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store to send with Western Union today.
The time by Grace Kennedy Remittance is
7:15.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled two dreams with one joint bank savings plan, I further my education and I make mama proud.
Wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Jamaica, are you ready for a revival fire? Join us April 11 to 13 at Fellowship Tabernacle Kingston for Friday Fires. Fresh fire, 3 days of healing, prophecy, and revival with Apostle Toby and Prophetess Nicola Arini, Prophet Dwight and Prophetess Nadine Guy. David Knight in London, Dubai, Ireland, and Dallas. Kingston, it's your time. Admission is free. Come expectant, come ready. Fresh fire is here. Follow at Light Jamaica on Instagram for more info. Sponsored by Fellowship Tabernacle, Love 101 FM, Utah Holdings, and St. Mary's.
Welcome back to the the morning watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, in this the first watch, we have been discussing the limitations and conditions that come with a U.S. work and student visa. And in so doing, we have online Toussaint McDonald, who is a family, criminal, and immigration lawyer, Sage Law in the U.S. of A. Welcome back to you, Sage McDonald. Toussaint McDonald.
That's fine. It's Sashane. My brother is
Okay.
Shane and I'm Sashane.
Okay. It's Toussaint?
Sashane.
Toussaint, good to have you with us again. Now, before the break, you explained to us the process for the student visa. The work visa, how is it?
Well, I did look up what's going on with your Turkish lady. They moved her 3 different states. So we'll talk about that if you want me to get back to it. You have
Yeah.
many different types of visas to get your work visas. One of them is the H-1B. That's one of the few categories where you can actually move from a work status to a green card. The H-1B is usually for professionals, so you have to have like a bachelor's to come on that one. Usually you find doctors, engineer, nurses, even teachers get a H-1B. You just have a job that sponsors you. I remember back in the day when the US was short of pharmacists, a lot of pharmacists will come up on a H-1B and then you can get a green card. Now, you always have a shortage of doctors, nurses, and I would say teachers are always in demand here. You have a H2A. I know a lot of Jamaicans, the farm work, couple of Jamaicans come on the farm work program. So that's more for like agricultural work. You have the H2B. That's something I was trying to do a lot of to help Jamaicans. So when you come to work on the cruise ship, so these are the persons who don't have any degrees now, like the non-professionals. They come on a H2B. This one does not give you a green card. So with the H2B, you work on like the cruise ships, hotels, nursing homes. And I can tell you in America, they're very desperate for people working in like hotels and nursing homes. Very, very desperate. Shortage of people. One of my favorite visas that is also a work visa, but it's only affordable to or available to Canadians and Mexicans is called a TN visa. So you do have even Jamaicans who are Canadian citizens that come and work on a TN visa. Why I like this one, there's no cap. Any amount of people is for 3 years and you renew forever and ever. Like the H2B has a cap. You only get 66,000 visas for the year. So you have 100,000 people applying for 66,000 visas every year, and the employers are crying out, but there's a cap. With the TN visa, if you're a Canadian citizen, you can come here. Usually you need like a degree, but you can work in whatever capacity that the people need help in. So that's one of my favorite ones. There's no cap. I spoke about the J1 earlier. That's like a cultural exchange. A lot of teachers come on a J1 visa. The money visas now that people can also come on, like if you're starting a business. Juicy Patties is here, whoop whoop, and they were able to come on like a E2 visa. You have EB2, EB5. When you have a lot of money and you can start a business and employ like 10 Americans in your business, you have like a EB5 visa. So you have business visas. I like how you're smiling, Dr. Toussaint. You
Yeah,
have
man.
EB5 visas that people come on that open a business. Those kind of jobs, I know Trump is talking about like a gold card. Those are people that come in with over $1 million worth of investment. I see you. I see you trying to say something.
And you say a million, you mean, of course, a
US.
million US.
Yes, and it's usually
Right.
like 1.8 million US. And
Wow.
so, like, if you're starting, I know like the Switch Wash company or even like Juicy Beef, they had to put up some money, you have to employ people. So, I don't know if the Go card is going to be similar to that, but those are the business visas. Then you have one of my favorites, which are the O visas. So people like Sean Paul or Beanie Man, the entertainers, they come up on what's called a O visa. So the
Oh.
performers come up on those, and that is it's really a work visa. And then you have what's called a L visa. So a lot of people have companies in the US. A lot of Jamaicans I see have companies that are registered here. And with a L visa, they are able to transfer from their company in Jamaica to their company here. So you look like I don't know if you ever heard about that one.
No, no. First.
Yes. If you have a company or a business that's registered here, a lot of people transfer, and even that one gives them a green card too.
Hmm. But this sound like the whole alphabet. You have Z and so on and
You
Q and
have
everything there too.
A to Z, and you also have, religious visas, people who come up here and work with the church.
Yes.
So that's like a R visa, the whole alphabet. There are a lot of ways. It's just that I don't think a lot of us realize
Where?
how
Yeah.
many types. We just think, okay, you have to be a doctor, for instance, but you have so
Right.
many people come and work with churches. You
Yeah.
have performing arts visas. If you can show you have exceptional talent, you don't have to be a Sean Paul or a Beanie Man. You could literally work. I know I have a couple of friends, like they come on the visas. They're literally teaching performing arts in schools here. They come on
Mm.
a J visa. There are many different ways to come here.
Which which leads me to my question. You mentioned about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. How have all of this changed since the return of the Trump administration, if at all?
So, let me tell you what I was doing before I came on. You don't even know what's going on because so much is going on.
Mhm.
Is it a lie? It's not 90 days, but I was writing down. You have tariffs, we have immigration and ICE, we have the stock market, you have the Cuban, you have them foreign people in the federal. There's just so much going on. One of
Yes.
my friends yesterday was like, we don't even know what's going on. So maybe like if you tackle one issue and because every day is something new, and I think it's just overwhelming. I'm sure with the few things I wrote here, there's a lot more, and it's overwhelming. We do have immigration clients. I'll tell you a lot of fears that I've seen in groups that I'm in. Yesterday I read that they detained an American citizen who is an immigration attorney. People are afraid to travel. Immigration attorneys.
Why did they detain that person? Do you
He's an
know?
immigration attorney, and he was defending like one of the protesters at a college, by the way. Same thing we're talking about.
Uh-huh. And he was
Uh,
detained.
and he was detained because, he's a very outspoken foreign student, and he was detained. I could look up the articles because I sent it to my friend, but
Hmm.
a lot of immigration attorneys, and I can't say I have traveled yet soon, but they're like wiping off their phones, wiping off their computers because of the work we do. It has a lot of, classified private information, and
Right.
everybody is afraid. You have US citizens that are afraid to travel, people
The
who are
travel.
born
Right.
here.
Right.
Obviously, people who have green cards, and I'll say it in my patois, green card, I mean nothing again. because is a thing we say no. Like you have a green card, but people with permanent resident status, they are afraid to travel because
Yeah.
they're not citizens, and even though they're here legally and all of that, they're also being detained for whatever reason. People are now being detained or stopped for traffic violations.
Hmm.
People are losing their student visa and having to go to detention even if you're a green card holder for not having the proper tag, for tail light being broken, just and I can't tell you what's going on because so much is
It's
going on
crazy.
at once.
In light of all of this, Sachet McDonald, what are your words of advice to all and sundry who are desirous, first of all, of getting a student and work visa, and those who already have them in the United States?
Well, as I said, the thing with immigration, it's discretionary, right? I mean, once you're in a system, everybody talks about due process rights. I don't know, that's a story for next time because everybody just getting thrown out, deported. There's a lot going on. I would say still come. I think it's still a great country. There are opportunities here. If you want to study here, apply. I personally can't tell anybody not to advocate, but I would tell any young person, you focus on what you're coming here for. Because again, if you're coming here to study engineering, you may want to protest Palestine. I cannot lie, I don't even like some of us. I think with us, we don't really get into the what's going on. We really don't, right? Because I don't think we understand a lot of the history.
Right.
And you find that a lot of the Americans that are born here versus the ones that come in, I think we just focus on generally what we need to do to survive or to work. So I would say apply, come. Remember, you're here sadly at the women fancy of a country that may or may not want you.
Discretionary.
So it's discretionary. So focus on what you're here for. If you're here to work, so generally
What if you feel passionate though, Miss McDonald, about something? That's something in the what's going on in the international sphere. You feel passionate about at least taking a stance with those who are protesting. Just one protest. You're saying don't even do that.
No, I wouldn't say that. Me, I'm passionate about helping people get their status corrected. Like that's my job, one of my jobs. I do a lot of family work, and I'll tell you this. I thought family law was safe, but you have a lot of spouses here that are calling ICE on their other spouse to get them deported so they can keep the house and the kids. And that was hard for me to swallow.
ICE is the immigration authorities,
Yeah.
right?
So even in family law, people are calling ICE on their immigrant spouse to have them deported to win a case. And trust me, we're passionate too, and we're fighting the fight. Like you will find the other day I had a case in court about a passport, and you have a lady who's from some far country near Greece. My client is Jamaican, and they wouldn't hand over the passport for him to keep for his daughter because as the opposing attorney said, she don't know, Jamaica is an uncharted boat ride to nowhere. And I'm like, these are the things we're seeing. You're dissing one foreign parent versus the next foreign parent, even though they're both US citizens. And a lot of this is going on. So I'm not saying though if you're passionate, I'm just saying, and I'm never one even to be cautious. I think I'm outspoken if anybody knows me. But at the end of the day, it's still discretionary. And
you're not going to join any of those public protests.
I mean, if it's a public protest, who goes to really spot you like that? Now, if you take up the bullhorn and advocating, you have a lot of people here who are my friends, who are from all kind of islands in the Caribbean, and they're advocating. They're doing TikTok, they're doing Facebook. So I'm not going to tell anybody to advocate. However,
you got to leave it. Got to leave it there. Thanks so very much, Shasheen McDonald. Very informative, very interesting. Have a safe and productive day.
Same to you, Dr. Toussaint.
Great. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
The part of the County with Jamaica Bank Savings Dreams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all expenses paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The Time by J Bank Savings Dreams promotion is
7:30.
New Dawn Outreach Ministries International presents its Honey 3 to 5 Royal Street Houston beside the craft shop. Adults 6,000, children 8 years and up to 1,000. It is free. It's like music night and source of light. Tastes and surprises, music, secured parking, and dinner included. Call 876-871-1810 or 496-0436. It's Honey Harvest, Monday, April 21. Doors open 2 p.m. Sale at 3 p.m. Sonia's Homestyle presents Old Time Gospel Fest, April 20, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Sonia's Homestyle Restaurant, 17 Central Avenue, Kingston 10. Enjoy performances by Luba Eby, Rhoda Isabella, Harry Sales, and more. Master of Ceremony, Leila Smith, and backing band Full Spectrum. Tickets now available at Sonia's Homestyle for $6,500 all inclusive. Proceeds in aid of Helping Hands Foundation. Get your tickets today and see you soon at Gospel Fest. The 2025 Jamaica Gospel Star Competition's new entry deadline is April 15, 2025. We want you to enter. You're a seasoned performer or a new voice. This is your chance to showcase your talent and win over $1 million in cash and prizes. Only online entries will be accepted. Submit your entry at jcdcawards.platform.com. Deadline Tuesday, April 15. It's the Jamaica Gospel Star Competition 2025. Enter now.
This Thursday, April 10, tune in to Have and to Hold as Dr. Colleen Beckles and the co-host, Pastor Napoleon Black, discuss this thought-provoking topic, reasons to take time away from your spouse. They'll discuss the surprising benefits and potential pitfalls of taking a break from your partner. Is space in a marriage a sign of trouble, or can it actually help a relationship thrive? Dr. Colleen Beckles and Pastor Napoleon Black will tackle these tough questions and more, offering wisdom, compassion, and expert advice. Don't miss this candid conversation on To Have and to Hold this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In The Observer, OCHA warns of deteriorating situation in Haiti. And also, former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson marks his 90th birthday today. Happy birthday, sir. In The Gleaner, after decades of sex abuse complaints, New York pediatrician ordered to pay $1.6 billion, that's with a B, to over 100 women. Also in The Gleaner, Jamaica not immediately affected by U.S.-China tariff battle, so says Senator Aubin Hill. And in Loop News, Miss Jamaica Festival Queen launches Sign Language Project. while the cabinet approves national school nutrition policy. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. Did you know there were limitations and the conditions that come with the US work and the student visa? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876 997 3125. We'll be right back.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public at 12 noon on Holy Thursday, April 17, through to Easter Monday, April 21, 2025, and will reopen on Tuesday, April 22 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for the period Thursday, April 17 through to Tuesday, April 22 should be submitted by 9 a.m. on Wednesday, April 16, 2025. Obituaries and notices should be submitted by 10 a.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a holy and peaceful Easter weekend.
This Thursday, April 10, tune in to Have and to Hold as Dr. Colleen Beckles and the co-host, Pastor Napoleon Black, discuss this thought-provoking topic, reasons to take time away from your spouse. They'll discuss the surprising benefits and potential pitfalls of taking a break from your partner. Is space in a marriage a sign of trouble, or can it actually help a relationship thrive? Dr. Colleen Beckles and Pastor Napoleon Black will tackle these tough questions and more, offering wisdom, compassion, and expert advice. Don't miss this candid conversation on To Have and to Hold this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. Did you know there were limitations and conditions that come with the U.S. work and student visa? Jokal?
All right, so we do have a response. Sherry in Spanish Town, good morning. Jerry says, for the work program visa or student visa, I know whatever type of visa you apply for, you have to work with it accordingly to be on the right side of the USA immigration law. Bearing in mind that their immigration law does not come with discretion. They can let you stay or deport you back to your country.
All right, thank you, ever ready Cherry, who has responded and emphasizing that word that was emphasized by our guest, discretion. And so we segue into the second watch. Many of us have probably heard about ADHD. But how many of us know why it is so called and what it is really? How many of us know what to look for and the cautions associated with doing that? And how many of us know of persons who have been so diagnosed and how to best deal with the condition? Well, to tell us more about this subject matter, we have joining us so far Chris Nesbeth, counseling psychologist from T House Therapy. Good morning to you, Mr. Nesbeth.
Good morning, Mr. Dylan. How is it doing?
I am well. I hope you are doing well.
I am.
Great. Good to have you with us on
It's
the
good to be
program.
here.
Again, yes. Now, let's begin at the very beginning. What really is ADHD and what are the signs and symptoms?
All right. So when we hear the name ADHD, we kind of have to break it down. And ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And so some of the signs and symptoms you begin to probably become aware of them as you break down that abbreviation. And so the symptoms and signs can be separated into two different categories. We have inattention and we have hyperactivity. And so a sufferer of ADHD is going to be finding it difficult to pay attention to nuanced information, and they're easily distractible. That's the inattention piece. The hyperactivity piece is they may also be restless. They may also have difficulty waiting their turn, butting into conversation, not really acknowledging social cues as a result of that. And so it can be either predominantly inattentive in that they mostly have those symptoms where they're not paying attention, or mostly have those symptoms where they are restless, or a combination of the two.
Okay, right. So you can have both the inattention and the hyperactivity combined in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that over the years we used to hear a lot about ADD. Why, as far as you know, was there the need to include the H aspect of it, the hyperactivity?
Yes. So actually, ADD and ADHD used to be two separate diagnoses. Over time, what they ended up doing was they ended up folding in ADD with ADHD. And so your inattentive ADHD is what we would have called ADD. So now they're the same diagnosis. And the whole reason we added the H was because we were seeing that with children that were presenting with the disorder, oftentimes there were combined features. So oftentimes it wasn't either inattention or hyperactivity. More often than not, it was a combination of the two. So we figured, all right, let's just kind of smush the two categories together.
What are the demographics behind ADHD, as far as you know, perhaps in terms of age and gender especially?
Right.
Any noticeable features in that regard?
There are. So one of the ways in which we're able to diagnose ADHD is symptoms must have been present in our patients or clients prior to the age of 12. So you're mostly going to see ADHD symptoms start in childhood. And so it's most prevalent in childhood. And you'll probably see around 7, 8, 10% of children suffering from ADHD at some level, whether that's mild or severe. In terms of other demographics, you will find that boys and men are predominantly diagnosed. And there's a little bit of a debate going on right now because we just find where women and girls, their ADHD is more subtle. It's more difficult to pick up on. They develop strategies a bit quicker and easier to kind of mask the symptoms. So it may not be the case that we're seeing where boys and men have ADHD more prominently, and more so that we're diagnosing it more prominently and commonly in our boys. And men.
And any reason you can give us for that? Those dynamics?
I think it's somewhat cultural, because when we raise our boys and we raise our girls, we often are saying we expect boys to be rambunctious. And so we can clearly see when a boy is getting a bit to those rambunctious extremes, a bit to those inattentive extremes, whereas our girls, we're a bit more demure in the way that we raise our young women. And so we expect a certain level of decorum with them, and we really push them to achieve that certain level of decorum. And so, as I was saying previously, those girls develop behaviors to maybe mask that ADHD and find a way to make it work in the classrooms, find a way to make it work in their job. And so it's a little bit harder for us to say, oh, well, she has ADHD as well, because she's so good at working with it.
Yes. And before we continue our discussion, any more symptoms or signs that you'd like to highlight, read the condition, just to help persons to be more aware?
Yes, I think we can get very focused on the hyperactivity aspect of things, but we really have to pay attention to the attention deficit or the inattention, and we really have to understand how wide-ranging these symptoms can be. So it's not just forgetfulness. It's the case where the brain of somebody with ADHD has developed a bit differently, and so it's a little bit.
Tell you what, Chris Netzberger, up on a break, so I don't want to break your train of thought. All right, we'll be right back.
Your tickets now. Enjoy the Hoppers and Others Easter Sunday, April 20, National Arena. The time by Arise 2025 is
7:45.
Not a dog you're there for one.
Man, them do a good job with the house, though.
I can't complain. But just a look a little small now to wire it.
Go talk to C and WJ Credit Union. They have a house wiring loan of up to $150,000 to wire your house. So you can get power from JPS. That's right. Get up to $150,000 and 3 years to repay with the CMWJ Credit Union house wiring loan. CMWJ Credit Union. Discover the benefits of the line.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
bubble TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org.
Yeah, baby.
QR code on screen.
Deep fake. No deep fake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? What day Junior get a voice note from her granny? Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Julie get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check on her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deep fake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But no wait. I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
We've been here for 20.
Guardian Light.
Protecting you and yours at every step.
Guardian Light.
Caring for family, caring for you. Looking at the life that's far away too.
For every generation, for every stage, your partner for 25 years. Guardian Life.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Great news, St. Thomas. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company is now in your parish, bringing safe, reliable, and affordable transportation right across your doorstep. We understand the challenges citizens face in the rural communities, and this is why the government is working hard to provide ease of transportation to all citizens across Jamaica. With easy to access routes, we can now travel comfortably to Kingston and beyond. No more long wait and travel time. We have more travel options. St. Thomas, your journey just got better. Ride with JETC. Safe, reliable, and affordable transportation for all.
Well, I'm very comfortable.
A long time St. Thomas see a bus route like this.
Easier and cheaper.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. In this, the second watch, we are focusing on ADHD. And in so doing, we have online Chris Nesbeth, counseling psychologist of the Tea House Therapy. Welcome back to you, Chris Nesbeth.
Thank you.
Great. So you were telling us about the signs, giving us some more detail about the signs and symptoms of ADHD. Please continue.
Yes, I think when we left off, I was talking about the inattention symptoms.
Mhm.
And so I'll kind of walk us through an example. So when you're talking to somebody who is suffering from ADHD and it is something that is really kind of impeding on their quality of life, you will find that maybe you give them a set of instructions and they only pay attention to piece of it because the brain at that point, it's very distractible. And so it's hard for them to stay with you the entire time that you're giving them a set of instructions. And it's very different for different people. So not everyone's going to pretend this way, but that is what the inattention can look like. So you're wondering why this person isn't following instructions. You're wondering if they're doing it maliciously. And it's just the case that they weren't able to stay on board as they were getting everything that you were saying in that moment.
Yeah. And the hyperactivity part is almost like the other end of the spectrum, eh? They are
Precisely.
yeah, it's interesting. What about confusion that could take place with other conditions vis-a-vis ADHD? Because there are similar signs and symptoms for different maladies. Autism, for example, which is an emphasis this month. How do you differentiate?
So one of the important things, one of the ways in which I'm kind of thinking about how we could confuse ADHD and autism, first of all, there's some similarities. So they're both neurodevelopmental disorders in that our brain is developed in a different way than neurotypical individuals. Now, one of the things that we see in autism is difficulty with social communication. So maybe
Mhm.
not picking up on social cues, or even if they're aware of social cues, such as not butting into a conversation while somebody is speaking, there
Yes.
might be less of an interest to follow those social cues, even if the knowledge is there. So they're doing that because their brain doesn't really develop socially in the same way that ours does. With ADHD, you might see the same butting into conversation, and it's not because they're disregarding social cues. It's because they're restless. It's because that hyperactive nature of them, it's almost like they cannot wait their turn. It's so full of energy, it's so full of life that it's like, I
Mhm.
have to speak now. And
Yeah.
so they can present similarly, but the reason that we're doing things is different when you look at the two different neurodevelopmental disorders.
Yeah. I tell you, uh, the the causes, Chris Nesbitt. Where does it come from? Why is it a condition that has developed over the years, or well, we've become more aware of it over the years? What's the root of it?
So the root of it, that's always a very tricky question in psychology, but
Mm.
it tends to come from the interaction between two different ideas. And one is that there's a genetic component to ADHD. So you are much more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD if a parent was diagnosed, a sibling was diagnosed with ADHD. So we know it's heritable in some degree.
Mm.
But just because your parent has it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So we know it's
Right.
also a result of your environment as well. And so we're not at that stage yet where we can pinpoint exactly, oh, this person is going to have ADHD. We're still at the place where we're thinking, well, it's a possibility based on kind of the genetic trend that we see.
And you mentioned the environment. What in the environment would have created or caused this to become a condition?
Well, that's the thing. So that's one of the things that we're not able to kind of tie down just yet. So even though you might have a genetic predisposition to ADHD, we aren't really aware of what it is that is going to happen in your environment that makes it so that it moves from a predisposition to a full-blown diagnosis. And so I don't want to, for example, give an answer
Mm.
because the literature isn't certain and unequivocal on that note just yet.
Anecdotally, what are the numbers saying? In the general population in Jamaica, any idea how many persons have been diagnosed with this?
The tricky thing with Jamaica is we don't have a lot of prevalence studies going about with certain diagnoses just because psychology really is still in its infancy in this
Mhm.
country. But if we
Mhm.
look at the global statistics, it's generally around 8% in children and generally around 2.5% in adults.
8% in children.
Yeah.
That's 12 years and under,
Yes.
or is it
Well,
to
0 to
18?
18. 0 to 18.
18. Okay. And what percent for the rest?
2.5.
2.5. uh, Treatment options. Chris Nesbeth, what
Yes.
are the treatment options that are available? How do they work? What have been the results?
Right. So when it comes to treating ADHD, we have two very general approaches that you're going to recommend right off the bat. One is therapy and one is medication. And so with medication, oftentimes the class of those medications are separated into stimulant medications and non-stimulant medications. And it's just dealing with the chemicals in your brain to make it a little bit easier to cope with the impulsivity and hyperactivity, and it regulates your attention. With therapy, what it's doing is we're helping our clients to develop strategies to live with ADHD, to make it so that ADHD doesn't make it so they can't hold a job or can't
Mm.
perform in school. And so we're
Mhm.
seeing in therapy, where are those deficits showing up and what systems can we put in place so that those deficits don't lead to you failing an exam or missing an important deadline at work.
Mhm. So,
Yeah.
well, drill a little bit more with the medication. You said that you mentioned stimulant and non-stimulant. Tell us more about that, please.
Right. And it's strange because when you think of ADHD, you think this person's already stimulated. Why are we giving them more stimulation? And what medication is actually doing is it's making it so that the brain has less noise that it has to sift through in order to pick up on signals. So let me break this down. So as you and I are having this conversation right now, it's
Right.
very easy for me to attend to your voice. Your
Yes.
voice, it captures my entire attention.
Right.
With ADHD, it's less likely that your voice would capture their entire attention. And so the stimulant medication makes it so that everything that is important for them to focus on becomes a little bit easier for them to focus on. And
Okay.
so that is kind of the role of the stimulant medication. The non-stimulant medication works the same way, just through a different pathway. And that's kind of where I think
And is there a
would make
time
sense.
frame normally associated with this treatment option?
As in how
Yeah, especially for the medication. I mean, how on average, how long would they need to be on the meds?
So a lot of people will stay on these medications for years at a time. Some people will stay on it for the majority of their life. It depends a lot on the severity of the ADHD. Some of us will need a combination of both, but a lot of people will stay on the medication for a couple of years and then get into therapy, and then they've developed strategies to the point where they can come off of it. So it's medication that's used as an as-needed basis, so it's not a daily taking every day situation, but rather I know the demands at work are going to kick up, and so I take the medication so that I
There's
can meet
not
those
one
demands.
size fits all. It's a fluid
Yes.
situation. And the therapy aspect of it, could you say more on that? What on average is involved with the therapy? I know you'd have therapy sessions, but what is done in those sessions?
Right. So let me give an example of somebody who, let me think of a symptom here. All right. Let's say that this person is having difficulty studying for exams because they simply cannot stay in their seat. Therapy is going to be very behavioral. So we're not necessarily going to be talking about feelings. We're going to be working with that child or adult to say, all right, well, when you notice that you want to get out of your seat, are there any strategies that you can use to maybe you're out of your seat, but you're still working? So we see how their brain manifests these symptoms, and we see how we can maybe work with it and channel that energy into a place where it is more useful. And so the hyperactivity, it's like, how can we work with the hyperactivity to get them to continue working on their goals regardless? There's also oftentimes people with ADHD are very forgetful. And so they might forget their keys, they might forget their wallets. And so it could be something as simple as finding a place where those keys and wallets always go back to. So you put a system in place so that the person walks through the door, they come home, and then they put their wallet particularly in a very specific place, and that becomes a routine. And that's no longer something that their brain has to think about, and the forgetfulness becomes less likely, just as two broad spectrum examples.
Yeah. And any extreme therapy that is used in terms of mind play and all of that you know of?
When you say mind play, could you talk to me a little bit more about what you mean?
Yeah, but so, doing things, going into trances. I don't know. The works. People do all kind of stuff to try to get into the brain and and in so doing to help to determine behavior. Anything like that?
Anything like hypnosis and those kinds of
I didn't want to mention it, but yeah.
Yeah, so hypnosis is one of those non-ordinary states of consciousness, and it can be useful in behavior change. I'm not aware of that being like a first-line treatment, but as you said, there is no one-size-fits-all model. So if somebody feels as though being with a hypnotherapist, having them kind of go into their brain in that way and leave behind suggestions to enact behavior change, it could be useful. But I caution against that because we have to remind ourselves that it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it's not just about motivation, it is also about your brain working differently. And so it's a way we have to kind of train our brain to respond in a different way. So hypnosis, I think, can be useful in some aspects for sure. But I again, wouldn't say it's a first line treatment.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we have a better understanding, Chris Nesbitt, from what you have shared with us in regards to this condition, ADHD. And we want to thank you so very much. We're out of time, but I think no, we know much more than we did before the program started. Have a safe and productive day, sir.
Thank you, and you too, Doc. Take care.
Great. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This, of course, has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning with Jokal Dyer.